Directions. Read and annotate this article. 3 points. 2. Complete the genre-based thinking job. 3 points. 3. Then answer questions 1 through 7 using your multiple choice strategies. 3 points. Get Your Z's by Kathy Ann Kowalski and Marcia Lusted. Your alarm goes off at 6 a.m. 15 minutes later, Mom yells up the stairs, "Get up!" You're out of bed by 6:30, on the bus by 7, and school starts a half hour later. What would you do without your alarm clock and Mom? Too little sleep. Did you know that if you need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning, you're probably sleep deprived? Most teens don't get enough sleep, according to Cornell University psychologist Dr. James B. Moss. Almost all teenagers, as they approach puberty, become walking zombies because they are getting far too little sleep, Moss says. On average, American teens get 2 hours less than the average 9.2 hours of sleep they need each night to function at their best. And teens are not alone. The National Sleep Foundation says that 63% of adults get less than their recommended 8 hours of sleep. Nearly 1/3 sleep less than 7 hours on weeknights. Most people view sleepiness and sleep deprivation as a minor annoyance, notes Mark Mahawad at the Minnesota Regional Sleep Disorder Center. You never brag about how much sleep you got. You only brag if you didn't get very much. Sadly, sleep deprivation can cause serious problems. Sleep is a basic biological need, just like food and drink, says Jody Mendel at St. Joseph's University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Amazingly enough, you can go much longer without food and drink than you can go without sleep. But why do our bodies need sleep so much? Mendel admits that sleep researchers don't know. But we do know that almost every species sleeps, she says. And we also know what happens to our bodies if we don't sleep. So we kind of look at it, the need for sleep, in a backwards way. Taking a toll. Grumpiness and irritability from sleep deprivation cause behavior problems at home and school. The less you sleep, the more likely you are to have difficulty in school, notes Amy Wolfson at the College of the Holy Cross in Worcester, Massachusetts. Dr. Moss adds, you can give the most stimulating, interesting lectures to sleep-deprived kids early in the morning or right after lunch when they're at their sleepiest, and the overwhelming drive to sleep replaces any chance of alertness, cognition, memory, or understanding. Wolfson's research into high school students and sleep revealed that students who received C, D, and F grades in school usually slept 25 minutes less and went to bed 40 minutes later than kids who received A's and B's. Lack of sleep also makes people more likely to feel down or depressed. School isn't the only place where sleep deprivation takes a toll. Behind the wheel, it can be deadly. Fall-asleep car crashes probably kill more young Americans under the age of 25 than alcohol-related crashes, observes Mahawad. And even if the tired driver doesn't actually nod off, impaired concentration and coordination make accidents more likely to happen. Not sleeping is simply bad for your health, too. Your immune functioning gets depressed, says Mendel, so you're more likely to get colds and flus. The body also secretes hormones during sleep, including growth hormone. Some studies suggest that a hormone imbalance in sleep-deprived people could actually accompany abnormal weight gain. Sleep also affects the ability to regulate your mood. If someone says something mean to you and you've had enough sleep, you can probably brush it off. But if you're sleepy, you can't regulate your emotions, says Mendel. You're going to burst out in tears, even over an embarrassing situation. And who needs extra emotional upheaval, especially when you're a teen? So why don't teens sleep more? There are many reasons why teens don't get enough sleep, and one of them is a relatively new development. When your parents were young, they might have read a book or watched television before trying to go to sleep. But today's teens are likely to be surfing the internet, texting, emailing, or playing video games right before bed. Electronic devices are more stimulating than simply watching television, and using them right before bed can result in difficulty getting to sleep. According to a survey by the National Sleep Foundation, adolescents with 4 or more electronic devices in their rooms are much more likely than their peers to get an insufficient amount of sleep at night, and are almost twice as likely to fall asleep in school and while doing homework. Many teens also drink too much caffeine to sleep well. In the National Sleep Foundation survey, 3/4 of the teens polled drank at least one caffeinated beverage every day, and nearly 1/3 consume 2 or more every day. With all the trendy high-energy beverages and coffees out there right now, it's easy to get caffeine overload, and that's not good for sleep. Researchers also have found that biology plays a role in teen sleep patterns. Ironically, as the need for sleep increases in the teen years, 9.2 hours compared to 7.5 to 8 for adults, teens experience a phase shift during puberty. They naturally fall asleep later at night than younger children, while needing to wake up earlier in the morning for school. When you go to bed late and wake up early, there just isn't enough time for sleep. Many school districts are starting to pay attention to sleep researchers and are shifting their start times to later morning for middle school and high school students. Get some sleep. So what can you do if you're running a sleep deficit? The good news is that you only have to make up about 1/3 of what you have lost to function and feel better, says Mahavold. Those extra 2 hours of sleep on Saturday and Sunday mornings can really help. But sleeping until noon on the weekend can cause problems. You'll likely be wide-eyed until late those nights. Instead, try maintaining a reasonable, regular sleeping and waking schedule. And remember, sleep is not negotiable. Get those Z's. Tips for a good night's sleep. Try to go to bed and wake up at the same time every day. Have a bedtime routine that's relaxing, such as taking a warm shower or reading for fun. Keep your bedroom comfortable, dark, cool, and quiet. Limit your use of electronics, such as computers and video games, for several hours before you go to sleep. Avoid drinking any caffeine after lunchtime. Avoid cigarettes, alcohol, and drugs. Get regular exercise, but don't exercise late in the evening. All right, thinking job. Complete the genre-based thinking job for this passage. 3 points. Pause and write your genre-based thinking job right here on your paper. You can pause the video after each question to make sure you circle it on your sheet. Number 1. How do lines 1 through 3 most contribute to the article? A, by demonstrating that the school day starts too early for many students. B, by describing a common and familiar experience for readers to relate to. C, by showing the technology around sleep issues for teenagers and adults. D, by asking readers to compare their morning routine to the one described in the article. Number 2. The authors use the phrase impaired concentration in line 35 to mean that drivers are A, irritated, B, injured, C, unconcerned, or D, unfocused. Number 3. The information presented by Jody Mendel in lines 16 through 21 and lines 37 through 45 best support the claim that A, a lack of sleep affects the body and the mind. B, the body does most of its growing during sleep. C, a lack of sleep can lead to more arguments between people. D, researchers hope to understand the sleep habits of other species. Number 4. How does the section taking a toll relate to the section, so why don't teens sleep more? A, both sections show how a situation has changed over time. B, both sections compare problems at school and home. C, the first section describes effects while the second section describes causes. D, the first section describes a problem while the second section describes solutions. Number 5. Which line best supports the author's idea that people do not take sleep deprivation seriously? A, on average, American teens get 2 hours less than the average 9.2 hours of sleep they need each night to function at their best. B, you never brag about how much sleep you got. You only brag if you didn't get very much. C, so we kind of look at it, the need for sleep, in a backwards way. D, many school districts are starting to pay attention to sleep researchers and are shifting their start times to later morning for middle school and high school students. Number 6. Which evidence best supports the idea that teenagers could be happier and more successful in school if they got more sleep? A. Did you know that if you need an alarm clock to wake up in the morning, you're probably sleep deprived? Most teens don't get enough sleep, according to Cornell University psychologist Dr. James B. Moss. Almost all teenagers, as they approach puberty, become walking zombies because they are getting far too little sleep, Moss says. B. Wolfson's research into high school students and sleep revealed that kids who receive C, D, and F grades in school usually slept 25 minutes less and went to bed 40 minutes later than kids who received A's and B's. Lack of sleep also makes people more likely to feel down or depressed. C. They naturally fall asleep later at night than younger children, while needing to wake up earlier in the morning for school. When you go to bed late and wake up early, there just isn't enough time for sleep. D. Those extra 2 hours of sleep on Saturday and Sunday mornings can really help. 7. Which evidence from the article supports the tips for a good night's sleep section? A. Amy Wolfson's research into high school students in lines 28 through 31. B. Mark Mahawald's comments about safety in lines 33 and 34. C. The National Sleep Foundation survey for teenagers in lines 51 through 59. D. The author's remarks about sleep on the weekends in lines 71 through 78.